Well, our topic for today is about Unit 2 on Transaction Processing System. Take note, in every business success, a reliable processing transaction of system or a reliable system, okay, is a vital has a vital role, no, for an effective business management. What is a processing system? Well, a transaction processing system offers enterprises the means to rapidly process transactions to ensure the smooth flow of data and the progression of process throughout the enterprise or through the enterprise. Okay? So, um, transaction processing system, guys, parang ito siya yung how a transaction is being ilalagay in a particular system, whether it's manual or computerized. And at the same time, paano dadaloy itong transaction to from its inception up to the end. So, dito madiditer parang from the time ipapasok yung system, I mean yung data, the raw data, okay? Paano siya i-process ng maayos, okay? So that it can provide an information that is very much useful for management, okay? So that is the transaction processing system. It is a process because it follows certain steps, chronological steps na dapat ito munang gawin bago pumunta sa susunod na step. Okay? So, that's the purpose of why we need to have the transaction processing system. Well, the characteristics of a transaction processing system are, okay, we have what we called the yung una, yung rapid processing. Pangalawa, we have the reliability. Pangatlo, we have the standardization. And pang-apat, we have the controlled access. Pag sinasabing rapid processing, this is designed to process virtually instantly to ensure that customers' data is available to process that require it. Ibig sabihin that, no, na itong rapid processing na characteristic, dapat the transaction processing system will ensure that the customer's data, okay, is always available to be processed if we need that. Okay, a good transaction processing system can able to provide information in times we need certain data, particularly on customers' data. The next one is reliability. A good transaction processing system is very reliable, meaning the system remain operational. Ibig sabihin, whether natutulog ka, the system is keep on operating. Ibig sabihin, it keeps on operating, processing data na naipasok mo sa system. So that is reliability. Pangatlo, we have what we call the standardization, which means that standard, consistent parate yung proseso, okay? Kasi the transaction process system, if it is manual, no, hindi pwede. Today, ito yung proseso natin, pagkabukas, different process. So, it must be consistent, okay? For what purpose? In order to maximize efficiency. Kasi pag pabago-bago po ang transaction processing system natin, well, pabago-bago rin yung result. At the same time, posible magkakaroon um, ng yung credibility of the results hindi na maganda, magiging less reliable and relevant na yung results. So we need to standardize the processes that we are going to use in processing data. Pang-apat, we have what we call the controlled access. A good transaction processing system, yung may sinatawag na controlled access. The controlled access naman refers that a transaction system has a limited employees that can access that, or in meaning restricted po yung mga taong pwedeng gumamit ng system. Okay, the access of the system is restricted to limited employees, and those employees are only authorized to access that system. Okay, so that is a good that is one of the characteristic of an effective and efficient and a good transaction processing system. Okay, the transaction processing system, after this topic, no, considering its characteristics, we need also to discuss the most common transaction cycle in accounting. Okay, we have three most common transaction cycle na dapat pag-aralan, which will be discussed thoroughly as we go on this subject. Okay, we have what we call the expenditure cycle. The second one is the conversion, and the third one we have the revenue and collection cycle. These are the most common transaction cycle that happens in a business organization. This is very important, guys, itong mga cycle na to, because these cycles, pag malaman po natin how the data documents of each cycle flows, it will be easy on your part to understand the audit processes. Okay, so we have the expenditure cycle. The expenditure cycle provide information on how to determine to identify what the organization needs. Okay, ano kailangan ng mga ng business, and how are we going to pay that needs. For example, expenditure cycle, yung salaries, it includes the salaries, the acquisition of office supplies. This is part of the organization needs. It is part of the expenditure cycle. And then part of it is how are we going to pay those needs that we needed, no? Okay? So the subsystem under expenditure cycle includes the following. Number one, the purchasing and accounts payable system. Okay, how we purchase particular goods, how we purchase particular materials, how we purchase particular yung mga operational expenses, and then how we record that into accounts payable. That's part of the expenditure system. And then, including as part of its subsystem is the cash disbursement or the payment system. How are we going to pay these needs? So we need to know how the system goes, how the process of cash disbursements, okay, anong prosesong ginagawa on the cash disbursement. Take note, there is no exact process, okay? Walang absolute na process kasi depende naman po yun sa mga business models. Including po this expenditure cycle, yung payroll system, okay? How a salary is being computed, paano siya i-disburse, does the payroll disburse manually or in a bank-to-bank process? This is part of the expenditure cycle. Pang-apat, we have the fixed asset system. This refers to the acquisition of fixed assets such as land, equipment, building, and other fixed assets, including intangible assets. Okay, this four subsystem has different ways, to follow. Ibig sabihin, before you purchase a particular product, ano po ba dapat gawin? That's the system. Pangalawa, before we actually pay that particular expense, ano po dapat gagawin? So we need to follow that. For the payroll, para bago may release ang payroll, okay, to the employees, ano po dapat gagawin ng payroll officer? On the fixed assets system, before the acquisition of these fixed assets, intangible assets, ano po ba gagawin? Ano mga documents ang gagawin? Yun yung mga subsystem on the expenditure cycle, which will be discussed thoroughly, expoundedly on the next chapters of this subject. Okay, we have the second cycle, which is the conversion cycle. Yung conversion cycle is about naman ito sa cost accounting, wherein this cycle refers to how a process, what is the system of converting raw materials, labor, and overhead to finished goods inventory. Ibig sabihin, sa raw materials, paano po ba iproproseso Okay, or paano ilalagay si raw materials, okay, in the working process and go to the finished goods. Same with labor and overhead. Okay, the subsystem that comprise the conversion cycle is the production system and the cost accounting system. The production system refers to the manufacturing of the goods, the finished goods. Ano po ba pagdadaanan na proseso? Okay, ilang labor hours, ilang materials ang kailangan, anong mga indirect materials and indirect labor are needed on the production of that particular finished good. As to the cost accounting system, how are we going to measure, okay, the different inventoriables in that particular process? That's the cost accounting system. Okay? Yun po yun. So the production system and the cost accounting system is part of the conversion cycle, which this topic naman i-discuss naman to sa last part of the AIS na subject, which is Unit 7, okay? And then we have the revenue and collection cycle. The revenue and collection cycle naman, if we have already the cycle on how to recognize expenses, how to pay expenses, okay? And then we have also the cycle on how to determine the costs of sales, which is the conversion cycle. In case of manufacturing, we have naman the cycle on how to recognize revenue, record revenue. Okay, so the revenue and collection cycle involves on the processing of cash sales, credit sales, and receipts of cash flowing credit sales. Ibig sabihin, under the revenue and collection cycle is that how are we going to, paano po tayo magre-record ng revenue? Ano po ba mga documents ang kailangan? Ano, bago i-record as accounts receivable, anong pagdadaanan? That's the systems that we need, or the cycle that we need. Okay, for example, before the recognizing receivables, or if would I say bago bawasan ang receivable, ano po ba mga documents ang needed para masabi natin that this receivable dapat bawasan na. Yun po yung ibig sabihin ng, yun po yung dapat natin malaman, or revenue and collection cycle, which these three cycles will be discussed expoundedly on the next chapters, okay, of this subject. Ito, pambungan pa lang to. So, as we go on, our focus will be, the expenditure cycle, the conversion cycle, the revenue and collection cycle. Okay, take note of that. These cycles are very much important on the accounting information system because itong mga cycle na to, itong mga subsystem na to, mayroon itong mga data, and these data are being input in the system para lumabas ang information na kailangan ng mga users of the information. Okay? We have also a topic today related to the review on accounting procedures and records. Why I include this as part of our discussion today? Because we are talking about processes. Okay? So, to review on accounting procedures and records, take note, we have 10 procedures on how to record procedures. And then later on, we will discuss naman yung mga accounting records needed on the said procedure. Okay? Yung mga generic lang. Pero as to specifics na mga records or documents, we will discuss it in a pie chapter. For example, an expenditure cycle, ano mga specific documents. Okay, for conversion cycle, ano po mga specific documents. And then for revenue and collection, ano po mga specific documents. Okay, so let us review muna on accounting and procedure and records. Okay, we have 10 accounting procedures. Una, obtain information about external transaction from source documentation. Well, this is very basic, no? Once before we record a particular transaction, we are trying to obtain information, and this information can be obtained in a form of a source document. Okay, for example, if you want to know if there is a sale transaction, you want to check if there's an official receipt, okay, the duplicate official receipt of the company, okay, to the customers, That is a source document. If you want to know naman if you have acquired this particular properties, you need to check whether meron po bang deed of sale. Pwede rin naman natin ma-check if there is a payment voucher related to the acquisition of that particular fixed asset. So from those documents, we can able to identify the information, okay, that needed to accounting records. Then from those documents, the second step that we need to do is to analyze the transaction. Well, on analysis of transaction, you need to know whether there is a value parted with or value received, so that we can identify what to debit and what to credit. That is the analysis of transaction. The third is to record the transaction in a journal. This is the journalizing, no? This is the step of journalizing wherein we try to formally journalize the transaction using the double entry system. After journalizing, the fourth step would be posting of those journal entries to the general ledger accounts. And after preparing the general ledger accounts, we try to sum up all debits and all credits and deduct debit to credit or credit to debit, okay, for each general ledger account to determine the remaining balances of each account, so that we can proceed to the fifth step, which is the preparation of an adjusted trial balance. Okay, after the preparation of adjusted trial balance, we need to determine what are the accounts subject to adjustments, okay, because we need to prepare adjusting entries in order to make the particular information that we can obtain from the particular system reliable and accurate. Okay, so we need to record adjusting entries and post it to the general ledger as well. After preparing the adjusting entries, we can now prepare the adjusted trial balance, and from the adjusted trial balance, we can now able to prepare the financial statements, which is the source of information about the accounting entity. And after that, on the second to the last step is the preparation, okay, of the temporary accounts, and these temporary accounts, okay, is subject to closing to the retained earnings or any appropriate account na kung saan na po natin i-close itong mga temporary accounts. And after that, the last thing that we do is to prepare the post-closing trial balance to check the balance of the debit and the credit, the equality of the debit and the credit at the end of the accounting periods. So, those are the steps. Now, hopefully you can recall now the accounting procedures and the accounting cycle. Okay. So, for today, we will now discuss the manual accounting records. Yung manual lang muna. Okay? The manual accounting records. Okay? Una, we need to discuss documents. If we talk about documents, these are evidence of an economic event. Okay, so for an information, for an accounting information or transaction to be recorded, no, we need documents, and this document will be the basis, or will be serve as an evidence that an economic event occur. Okay, using this document also, we can now initiate the transaction processing. Okay, so these documents are divided into three classes. We have the source documents, the product documents, and the turnaround documents. Ano po yung tinatawag na source documents? Una, this refers to the capture and formalized transaction data needed for transaction processing. For example, no, if you want to know if there is an existence of a what we call this, of a purchase of a particular supply, anong document ang kailangan? So obviously, yung kailangan natin is an official receipt na meron talagang binili, or sabihin na lang natin sales invoice or purchase order, okay, coming from the suppliers, okay, no, or I mean sales invoice coming from the supplier. The sales invoice can be a basis as a source document to identify whether there is an existence of the acquisition of that particular supply. And then we have what we call the product documents. These are result of a process transaction. Okay, a product document, tinawag siyang product documents because these documents are produced already. These are produced documents. These are produced documents in relation to a particular process. For example, if we want to process the what we call this the check to employees, no, because for example an advance payment to these employees, no, okay, the paycheck, the check itself is a product document because before we able to prepare the paycheck, you know, it undergoes a process, and it requires a different um, documents before we can prepare the paycheck. So that's a product document. And then we have what we call the turnaround documents. Ano po itong turnaround documents? A product document of a system which will be a source document of another system. Ibig sabihin po nun, for example, no, a purchase order. Okay, a purchase order is prepared by the purchasing department after processing the requisition prepared by a particular department regarding those particular goods or materials. Before the purchase order were prepared, it undergoes a process. The purchase order is already a product document of a certain process. However, on the preparation of a check, before we prepare the check, we ask from the purchasing department the purchase order, and then that purchase order will be served as a source document on the preparation of a check. So it means the purchase order is a product document of a particular process which will be a source document of the next process. Okay? So, yun po yung sinasabing turnaround documents. A product document of a particular process or system which will be a source document of another process or a system. So, we have three different documents, no? The source document, the product documents, and turnaround documents. Okay? Iba-iba po ito. These are documents pa rin, kaso iba-iba po ang ibig sabihin. Okay? And then, we have the second one, which is the journals, the journals, these are the sheets, no, used in the preparation of the journal entry. The documents, guys, are used on the first step of accounting process. This will be the basis for your analysis, no? This will be the basis for your analysis. Well, the journals are used in the preparation of the journal entry. This is the record of original entry which are in chronological order. Tama naman, no? Once we prepare journal entries, we record it in a chronological order, no? Okay, for example, in a date-by-day basis, no? Hindi pwedeng mauuna yung kahapon kaysa ngayon. So, ganun yun. And then, chronological, no? Parang kulang lang yan. Chronological. Okay? Chronological order. Okay? Chronological order. Okay. The journals are divided into two different classes. We have the special journals and the general journals. Pag sinasabi po natin special journals, these are journals used for a specific class of transactions. For sure, alam naman po natin kung ano po yung mga special journals. We have the sales journals, we have the purchase journals, the cash receipt journals, and cash disbursement journals. These are special journals, and these journals are used for a specific class of transaction. For example, for sales transaction, okay, we are going to use the sales journal. All sales related transactions are recorded on that sales journal. purchase journal. All related purchase transactions are recorded in the purchase journal. All cash disbursement transactions are recorded in the cash disbursement journals. All cash receipts transactions are recorded on the cash receipts journal. We have the other journal which we called as general journals. The general journals naman are used for non-recurring, infrequent, and dissimilar transactions. Yung hindi pwedeng i-record sa sales journals, sa purchase journals, sa cash disbursement journals, or sa cash receipts journals, doon po natin i-record sa general journals. Example of this is the recognition of doubtful account expense and the recording of depreciation expense. These are non-recurring, infrequent, and not totally the same with the sales transactions, purchase transactions, cash disbursement transactions, and cash receipts transaction. Journals can be a source of information in the preparation of the financial statement. Kaya pwede rin po siyang a journal is a product document, okay, after analysis, okay, after recording of transaction, and a journal is a product document which will be used as a source document for the next process. Yun po yun. And then we have the ledger. The ledger is the book of financial accounts. Okay? The ledger reflects the financial effects. Correct naman, no? That ledger reflects the financial effects because it will provide the increases and decreases of a particular account title. Because also, it will provide information kung ano po yung mga naidagdag, ano mga naibawas, ano pong na-disburse, ano pong dine-recognize on that particular account. A ledger is divided into two different classes. We have the general ledger and the subsidiary ledger. Pag sinasabing general ledger, this shows activity for each account in the chart of accounts. Ibig sabihin, general. For example, an accounts payable is a control account. It is a general account. Generally, it will provide information what are the effects or the activities happen on the accounts payable account. Okay? The general ledger will show that. For subsidiary ledger, it will show the detail of activity for each account. For example, in accounts payable, meron po tayong addition of 1 million. The subsidiary ledger will provide information saan galing itong 1 million. Ano ang composition ng 1 million? Is this 1 million accounts payable related to one supplier only or to a multiple suppliers? The subsidiary ledger will provide that information. So, a ledger is divided into two classes. We have the general ledger and the subsidiary ledger. Okay? This will be our last topic for today because hinati ko po yung unit 2 into two parts. The last one is the coding techniques. Okay? Coding techniques naman, this is very important, no? Coding techniques. What is a coding technique? It is a systematic assignment of numbers or letters to items, classify, and organize them. Okay, for example, in municipalities, sa bawat municipality may tinatawag na zip code. The zip code are codes. These are codes, That is a very basic coding technique that every municipality has its code. 6501 for Palos, 6502 for Tanawan. So that are coding systems, okay? In accounting, we also provide that coding techniques. For example, account number for cash, this is 101. Account number for accounts receivable, 102. Okay? This is very important, no? Why this coding technique is very important? Because it can provide using the coding techniques, we can easily identify missing data, okay? Or if it's about goods, for example, if sasabihin mo na from inventory 100 to inventory 105. Pag-check mo sa inventory 100 to 105, nawawala si 104. So you can easily identify may nawala si 104. Ano to si 104? Ninakaw ba? Ibinenta na ba? That's the importance of the coding techniques. Okay? The coding techniques can be in a sequence or in a block code. Pag sinabing sequence, ito po yung continuous. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is sequencing. Okay, sequencing. For block code naman, we assign numerical codes, okay, for a certain product. For example, no, from 6,000 to 6,520, itong mga codes na to refers to municipalities of province of Leyte. So, ibig sabihin, pag 6,000 to 6,500 na mga codes, itong mga codes na to refers to municipalities to particular province. Okay? So, ibig sabihin, kung hindi ka 652, kung hindi ka 6,000 to 6,520 yung coding mo, lampas ka dyan or baba ka sa 6,000, posibleng hindi ka kasama sa kategoring iyan. That's the block coding. For example naman, no, sabihin natin, pwede po ba sir yung sequence codes at block code mag-isa? Pwede po yun. For example, okay, lahat ng may 1, lahat na nagsisimula sa code na 1 are assets. That's the block code. 1111. And then, lalagyan mo na lang ng sequence code 01, 02, 03, 04. That's the sequence codes in order to specify, okay, the particular accounts naman. That's the sequence code. Okay, pwede po natin i-combine ng sequence code at block code. Okay, pwede sabihin natin letter L. L stands for liabilities. Lahat ng may letter L, naka-block siya, and lahat ng letter L na accounts are liabilities. So, naka-block code na lahat ng L are liabilities. Then, lalagay mo na lang dash L. L-001. Pag 001 ang pinakauna, that is accounts payable for liabilities. L-002, that refers to salaries payable. Yun po yung sequence and block code combined. Okay? So, yun lang for today yung discussion ko, and then we will continue naman next meeting. So,